I'm curious as to what you two think about set point theory and how it affects weight loss. We've had this question before. We've talked about set point theory before. Should we start off with a quick description of what it is, what set point theory is for people that don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it really is a theory, essentially, that our bodies have a weight that they want to be at, quote unquote. And that despite our efforts to either gain or lose weight one way or the other, our bodies will naturally turn to this point, right? Mm-hmm. There has been, over the course of years and years and years, a lot of discussion in favor and against it. And so now she's asking what our take is on it.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would you say?
Well, I think there's like strong evidence for it. And then there's also, arguments that kind of break down some of the ways that people use the theory. Okay, so it used to be highly debated. I don't see it as debated as much anymore. Mm-hmm. However, I think it like clearly is very true based on when you look at a playground of children and see how very different all these body types are. Mm-hmm. Like we clearly have a very strong genetic preference, I guess, genetically preferential predisposition. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Annie and I often use ourselves as examples of that because Annie and I are, both like European descent. We both are 5'9", I believe. Mm-hmm. You and I both have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. And we have very different body types. Mm-hmm. And a healthy body weight for Annie and where you seem to naturally fall is very different than a healthy body weight for me and where I seem to naturally fall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's not to say, and so where this argument or like where the set point theory falls, it doesn't fall apart, but where it gets highly criticized is the way some people use set point theory to say it's like a very black and white binary argument where they say your body weight is what it is. You can't change it. Mm-hmm. You cannot influence your body weight. And if you try to lose weight, your body will just keep fighting you to get back to where it was. Often when we talk about yo-yo dieting, that's when there's certain people that will argue you regain weight after yo-yo dieting because of set point theory, because your body is fighting to get back to that weight, your heavier weight. And I think probably the person who put it best was a guest on our podcast. He's an obesity medicine doctor named Dr. Yoni Friedhoff. This is an episode from a couple years ago. And, I think, he's not denying that set point theory is a thing. It absolutely is a thing. But he also talked about there's like your physical set point, like where physiologically your body wants to be. But we are all so influenced psychologically, mm-hmm. right? So it's like we all have these deeply ingrained behaviors. We all have our own ways we have learned to eat and cope. We're all triggered by our environments. And there's also like a psychological set point where people feel their best psychologically, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, it's a very complicated topic. And if you've ever seen there's this kind of graph out there on the internet somewhere, and it essentially has broken down all the contributors to our body weight. Mm-hmm. And like, it's like this map. It's so incredibly intense what impacts our body weight, from how you were raised to, if you were breastfed or not, if you were born by C-section or vaginal, if you were like, it's so incredibly complex that I don't think we can't just break it down to one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, when I see people asking this question, I do often wonder, at the coach in me is like, well, what has them asking this question? And I often wonder if it is someone, and I don't know this to be true about the person asking this question, but if it is a curiosity around how much I can influence my weight, or if I put all this effort, maybe you've seen this in past experiences, I've put a lot of effort into reducing my weight, but eventually the weight comes back on. We need a little bit more of as you said, nuanced conversation about that, because, why are you putting the weight back on? Is it because you couldn't sustain these habits and you were using restrictive diets to influence your weight? And we know if you can't sustain those habits, you're going to put the weight back on. What happens? Have you seen the inverse of this true? So often I hear people saying, like, I really struggle to lose and maintain weight. But the flip side, if set point is true, right, then we should also see the same ease or difficulty in weight gain too, right? And I think a lot of people, especially in our community, are like, oh yeah, weight gain, I can do that. It's weight loss that's difficult, right? So I often think back to what Tracy Mann said in her book, and I think on our podcast as well, that we can influence our weight, but how much we can influence our weight is not what we have led to believe.
What we've been led to believe by the diet industry. Yeah. Or certain influencers or that use their bodies to sell these programs, right?
Yeah. Like case in point, I have been able to lose and sustain 60 pounds of weight loss, right? Yeah. I did influence my weight, and for the last decade, it's been pretty effortless to maintain. Not completely, but I feel confident saying this is my new normal. Am I ever going to look like Jen? No. No.
Well, we have completely different body types. You're built like a rugby player and I'm built, I don't think I look like a ballerina, but I'm just more long and lean. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you'd put us next to each other and say, of course they're built differently. Yeah. Of course they weigh different. Like it's not, it's just, it's a conversation that requires nuance. Mm-hmm. I would say, yes, I believe in set point theory, but no, I'm not extreme about it. Mm-hmm. Like I have seen online. Mm-hmm. It is. And again, that's why being online, even though you're online right now, getting your information online about these types of topics can feel very confusing and overwhelming, because on the internet, the most polarizing voices end up being the loudest, whether it's because they're compelling and people want to listen to them. Maybe they satisfy the algorithm. Who knows? But then it seems like that's the dominant narrative is these, whether we're talking about body weight or nutrition or politics, it's always the dominant, as far extremes as we can get that get the attention. And so, I'd also just recommend looking to some more boring resources.
Like us.
And also the World Health Organization, mm-hmm. that type of thing.
Yeah. The CDC, mm-hmm. the Canadian government, the US, yes. myplate.gov. I think you have something different, right?
We have our own, the Canadian nutrition standards. Yeah, totally. But I look at them as a nutrition coach who's been doing this for 9 years, and I'm like, yep, great guideline. Nobody's doing it, but great guideline.
Yeah. The other thing with just listening to influencers or even people that are practicing professionals online is there's that implied trust when you start to see they have a big following and there's a lot of comments mm-hmm. below, and if you're not feeling super confident in your body of knowledge, your foundational knowledge, it can be easy to be like, oh, these people all sound really smart and they look like they have a lot of credentials to know what they're talking about. So yeah, I can trust them.
Yeah. I would also encourage women listening to trust yourself, mm-hmm. right? So it's like, if I have a friend that is 20 pounds less than me and I am like, oh, well, maybe I should be that weight and try to work towards that, and my body's fighting back, or I'm finding that incredibly challenging. It's like, trust yourself. Like, what is your body kind of telling you in this process, right? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah.